Like term. Right now, are we podcast maxing?
Yeah, I mean, you could say that.
Okay.
I feel like, you could add it on to anything.
Just, not to Jesus juke, but like that is important. Like
Jesus maxing.
That is. See, doesn't that make you actually angry? That makes me mad when you say that. I'm like, that's just being a Christian.
We place it under productivity, but it's really control. Yeah. Like what you're saying, CJ, is these men want to protect themselves from being vulnerable by being rejected. And so they are controlling what is in their sphere of control is what they look like at some extent.
100%.
Part of the Sabbath is the reminder that the Lord did the work already.
Yeah, exactly.
But I feel like when I was a very new parent, I 100% felt the pressure to make Easter like so picture perfect.
When we start our kids out at that age with these kind of expectations, we're kind of creating their theology around Easter to expect, it to be about presents, and then it kind of makes the reason for the season the background noise.
Yeah. Like, how do we separate celebration from consumerism?
Yeah.
Teens are inspired by the fashion and love story. Everybody, everywhere is maxing, and the meaning of Easter might feel lost somewhere in the baskets and plastic grass. Welcome to the Round Table. I'm Irene Tucker, and I'm here today with CJ Fant, Jenna Mendel, and welcoming back to the podcast, we've got Ashley Schutzel.
Thank you.
How's everybody doing on this Holy Week?
Good.
Yeah?
Ashley and I get to be on the podcast together.
Yeah, it's a good week for me.
Have we ever done a podcast together?
We have, but it's been a minute.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot about our time.
I won't take offense to it.
How are you this week, Jenna?
I'm doing great. I am going on a 48-hour silence and solitude retreat starting tonight, so I'm very much looking forward to that. My biggest struggle on my retreats is we're not allowed to read, just for fun. If the spirit leads you, they'll let you. But for me, I love to read, and when I'm up in the mountains, I'm no, I'm ready to read for 6 hours, and it's no, I gotta pray.
That's
but it'll
amazing.
be really good. I'm excited.
Is that the primary goal, is to kind of sit and be contemplative and pray?
Yeah. Yeah. We actually, this retreat's a little bit different. I'll talk to you guys about it after, but it's kind of a little bit more planned. I don't need to bore the listeners with the details.
I'm excited to be very noisy for you, just to fill you up so you can go.
Yeah. When I'm 3 hours into my retreat and then my phone's turned off and I'm just staring at the wall, I'll think of these moments.
There you go. We'll count on it. All right, this week's song of the week is Babydoll by Dominic Fike.
I can't move on, Babydoll, waiting on calls, flipping through stations. I'm outclassed and it's outrageous.
In 2018, Dominic Fike was releasing his biggest song of 2026. With tons of exposure on TikTok, Babydoll has been sitting at the top of Spotify's Top 50 USA playlist. This song is a great introduction to Dominic as an artist. He's kind of got a laid-back, sleepy vibe and really clever lyrics. What'd you guys think of the song?
Yeah, there was a period of time where I was making playlists for my student, like my youth group at my church. And I discovered Dominic Fike, and he was such a win for me in those moments because
for the kids. Or for you?
Yeah. So I was trying to make a playlist that was if you, don't go to church, you would go in and hear something that you're oh, this doesn't really feel super churchy. And right. Dominic Fike was one of my favorites because he just is super easy to listen to. When you hear it, you kind of just bob your head.
Yeah.
And he has that kind of vibe, and so I've appreciated his music for a while, and so it's been funny seeing this song that I'd never heard before, but it's just been really popular on social media. It's
the only word you really hear is Babydoll.
Yeah,
over and over again. My son listens to this one quite frequently, and I was oh, that one. But you can't really you have to pay attention if you really want to hear the lyrics. But all I hear is Babydoll over and over and over again.
Ashley, what did you think of it?
Yeah, I listened to it for the first time yesterday, and I haven't heard it anywhere until yesterday. But it was chill. It was just slow, easy going. Like you said, you could just bob your head to it. And I liked it.
It's a 97-second song.
Yeah.
It's not hard to listen to.
I also think I liked it because of that. I was this is real quick to listen to. I got this.
It's like a Beatles song in that way, where you go back and listen to the old Beatles songs and they're 2 minutes. and you're like, it's
honestly,
so short.
It's like when you watch short movies, you know, like when movies are 90 minutes nowadays, it's like, yeah, that was great.
I saw a stat the other day that the average movie length is 140 minutes.
Isn't
right
that
now.
nuts? That's crazy.
I just had to do that math in my head.
2 hours
which is
and
over
20
2
minutes.
hours.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's wild.
I miss 90 minutes.
A solid 90
Yeah.
minute film.
I feel like every movie nowadays is 3 hours.
Easily, yeah.
And I'm like, I love long form media, man.
Project Hail Mary is really good. It felt long.
Oh,
Yeah.
stab me in the heart.
Sorry.
Guys,
It's not
I knew
personal,
when you
Irene.
guys said nothing about the movie that, you know, we don't need to talk about Project Hail Mary, but I was pretty devastated to get no reports from either of you.
How long was Super Mario Galaxy?
Hour and 38 minutes.
Yeah.
Love that.
There we go.
And
98 minutes.
I thought it was great, but we'll talk about that next week.
Probably,
when
yes.
Everybody's
I can't wait.
wait.
First thing I'm doing when I get home from my retreat.
We're not talking about movies, though. We're talking about...
So a little bit about the lyrics. It's Dominic's kind of talking about this girl that he can't let go, and he's like Loki waiting in the wings. Is this a serious song to think about as a parent, or is it just kind of like, whatever?
Yeah. You kind of read through it, and it is... I feel like when I was listening to the song and reading through the lyrics, I was like, he just put together some words. Like, that sounds so dismissive. It doesn't mean the writing isn't bad. And I actually think Dominic Fike, when you listen to a lot of his music, I think he's a very clever writer in the way he puts together phrases, and he's very good at figuring out what is catchy as a phrase.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like this song, it's not the lyrics. That's not the draw of the song at all.
It's
I think you're right when you
just
say
the beat.
bobbing your head.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because the beat changes halfway through. Like
It really does.
It is just it's more like 2 45-second songs.
That's probably why it's trending like on TikTok. Like it seems. I mean, why other reason would it come back in 2026 if it was a 2018? So, I mean, songs do that. I guess they have this like random resurgence.
Yeah.
But
yeah, TikTok loves to do that, especially if it's in like a movie soundtrack or something like that. Do we know like any of the reason why it came back?
Yeah, I mean, I think it mostly is kind of internet trends. And even like I was scrolling some YouTube shorts and I was watching like a random clip from a video game and someone had just put the song over it. So it's one of those songs where you can kind of do whatever. You just put this on it because it's now recognizable and catchy, and and that's just a lot of songs go through that phase. Like Man I Need by Olivia Dean was that for a while, where it was just...
That is such a good song.
It's a great song. Yeah. It just was... You would just do like a trend and then you'd put that song in.
And it would work with anything.
Yeah, because that's kind of the meta, if you will, on social media. So
when parents are driving in their car with their teens, they just randomly put the song on and see how their kid reacts. My kids hate that. Yeah. They're like, why are you listening to this, Mom? No, turn it off. All right, well, that's the song of the week. Take a listen to Babydoll by Dominic Fike. First up in the top 3, the final episode of Love Story, based on the tragic story of John F. Kennedy Jr. and Carolyn Bessette Kennedy, aired last week. The show, based on the biography of Bessette Kennedy that chronicled her romance with JFK Jr., has been Hulu's most watched limited series ever. It aims to capture the essence of a tumultuous relationship and doesn't shy away from drugs, nudity, and sensitive themes. It's not made for teens, but they've been seeing a lot of edits on TikTok. Jenna, what do you make of this show being the most watched, and why are teens so captivated by it on TikTok?
Yeah, I think for teens specifically, it's the fashion and the aesthetic. I think for a lot of teens today, they really yearn for a life before phones. A life now as a teenager, there's so much surveillance. Like, you're always worried that someone's going to film you.
Yeah.
If you mess up. Like, there's just a lot of anxiety around everything being documented. But then at the same time, there's anxiety if you don't document. So it's really hard.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of teens nowadays love, especially the girls that I disciple, love watching like 90s rom-coms and shows set in that time because it feels so idyllic, which is so funny because in the 90s, parents were like, oh my gosh, look at all these bad things that are happening. All these
Yeah.
people are doing drugs, teen pregnancies, like all these things were happening. And so we always have that perspective, like in the future of like, it was the good old days. Like it was back
Right.
then that things were better. And I mean, we could just like go off on some bars on Ecclesiastes about that if we wanted to. But anyway, so I think for them, there's this sense of like nostalgia for a life that they never can live because they have a life with screens. And the show, I watched the first couple episodes, so I can't vouch for the whole show, but I really enjoyed it. And something I just noticed would be that Carolyn Bessette would just be walking away and she wasn't holding anything. Like she would just be on the street and her phone isn't in her pocket, it's not in her hand. And it was just, I love watching shows and movies that are set in times before smartphones.
Yeah.
And so I think that is a really big draw. And so I think a lot of them might not end up watching it. They might be like, I don't even know who JFK Jr. is and not really care. But I think for them, they're going to see edits on TikTok of these two attractive actors, actresses, and they're going to see really cool minimalist 90s style, and they're going to be inspired by that. So yeah, I kind of think that that's why the teens are loving it.
Got that like old money energy.
Totally.
Too. And honestly, I was driving home with Skylar the other day, and you're not wrong. We kind of started to make a joke because every teenager that was walking home from school, even a teenager on their scooter, was looking at a phone, and there wasn't a single one that didn't have a screen, like their head down while they walked, which is like kind of wild and sad. So I feel like it makes sense that, I mean, even as grown-ups, I feel like we yearn for what that freedom feels like.
It feels really dystopian when you walk around and you like decide to put your phone away, because it's so easy. Like we're all very justified why we're on our phone. Like all the people that are sitting around you are like, oh my gosh, I need to reply to this email. I'm on my break at work, so I'm going to go on TikTok for a minute. And I like to think the best of the people I see that are just like going on their phones, but I have to remind myself of that because it's easy for me to be like, well, I'm going on my phone for these important reasons, but these other people, like, they need to just be in the moment. But I'll like be at the airport sometimes and I'll put my phone away very briefly because I'm going to grab my book. Like, it's not like I'm not distracting myself in another way, albeit I think it's a lot healthier of a distraction.
Yeah.
And then I just look up and it's just everyone on all their devices. And I'm like, this feels like that it just feels like you're watching WALL-E with all the people in their little screens.
All the
shows.
time. Yeah. All the time. Life feels like, oh my gosh, is that where we're headed? Maybe not to space. Well, maybe, based on How about you guys? Did you know a whole lot about the show? Did you watch any of it? Thoughts?
Yeah, I watched the first episode. I love the fashion piece of it. In the first episode, you've got, Calvin Klein and his denim on denim, and I'm like, yes, so simple, so good. And then I was watching some TikToks or reels on people who had also seen it, and it's like one day after watching it and nothing changed, and like 2 days, and then it's like 5 days and they're just like fully, and they're like all black but like simple, and I was like, okay, so we're moving back towards this like simple clothing way, like you just throw on 3 staple pieces in the morning and go on with your day. I'm like, I could get back on board with that.
Totally,
As
yeah. And Carolyn, the main character, works at Calvin Klein.
Yes.
For those who aren't familiar. So that's why there's so much fashion in the show, which is really fun. Like, I loved every time a day went by in an episode because I was like, another outfit. Like, let's see what she's gonna wear. And then all the other characters are wearing cool things. JFK Jr. is very fitted as well. He kind of just looks like he would be on the cast of Friends a little bit in the best way.
In the best way.
Recasting.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so the show is kind of about this messy, chaotic relationship, and I think the way that it's filmed is really, really romanticizes it. Maybe teens aren't necessarily watching it yet, but I feel like maybe they will because of how many edits they're seeing on TikTok. What do you think of a show that kind of romanticizes that chaotic, drama-filled relationship, CD?
I mean, I think that's definitely not a new thing. I think if you look at anything written for like book talk or those sorts of things, that's often the case. I think one of the important parts of discipleship is encouraging young people that it's natural and it's okay to like the drama of stories that are that way, right? I think there's something captivating about that. I think that's why we watch reality television, you know. Part of it is because drama is engaging, you know.
Yeah.
But I think at the same time, it's also not aspirational is maybe the way to put it.
Yeah.
Like I think you can find that line where if you're talking or trying to disciple a young person who's in your life, like we can be interested and caught up in the drama of something, but we also don't have to desire that.
Yeah.
Right. And even then, like I think we learn from maybe dramatic relationships, and those aren't necessarily the end of the world.
Yeah.
But I think it's also important to realize this isn't necessarily what we desire. Like we do desire people who are solid and care about us and aren't flaky or inconsistent, or maybe one day they love us and the next day they're frustrated with us, you know, like that sort of thing. Especially in dating relationships, right? Where there's less like day-to-day life is done together.
Yeah.
So I think that's obviously maybe the first thing I would think of with that. As someone who's less familiar with the show, I'm kind of maybe making some inferences here, but
do you feel like with all of these shows, like The Summer I Turned Pretty, and I think it's like Walter Boys and this, like, do you think that the kind of that teens don't really have a great structure for how to be in a relationship? I don't know. What are your thoughts, Jenna?
Yeah, as you're saying that, I was thinking about kind of like in the first episode of this show, the very beginning of the episode, Carolyn, our main character, is talking to her coworker who, and it's very like crass, but her coworker had, I think it was a one-night stand with some guy, and she was talking about how she like already had called him a couple times, and Carolyn was like, girl, you need to kind of let him chase you. Like, why are you doing this? And the next few episodes show Carolyn to JFK Jr., who is like in 1988, I believe, was the year that he was voted sexiest man alive. So like everyone in New York knew this man. Everyone in America did, but people in New York saw him a lot. Women approached him a lot, talked to him a lot.
Yeah.
And he was very attractive, very charming. Like he didn't have to work to pursue a girl ever. And Carolyn like made it very difficult for him, kind of because she was like, you're just like talking to me because we're at this party. You don't actually like care about me. You're just kind of doing this for your ego, whatever. And so as I was watching that, I was like, this is really interesting. And then the next few episodes are JFK Jr. pursuing Carolyn in these different ways. And so I think for a lot of young women, there actually could be some interesting conversations to be had about the show. There's definitely mature content and sexually explicit content. But for me, as someone who is always trying to be mindful of that, it was very easy to skip. I think a lot of times now it will just be like you open up an episode and then you're just like, whoa, like what's happening?
Yeah.
Versus with this, it was like they would start to kiss, then I'd be like, okay, great,
click,
I
click.
can skip over this.
Yeah.
So that was easy
Click, click,
for me. Wait.
That's what I do. Like
just
if I'm
didn't hear
watching Grey's
laughing.
Anatomy, I'm like boop boop boop. Like you just get past the bed sheets.
Yep, totally. Like we're in the sheets the next day. Amazing. Like let's just do that. So I was really able to do that, but I think that what you're getting at, Irene, is really interesting. But I think this show might really touch some women's heart, especially when it comes to like that desire to be pursued by a guy.
Yeah.
And also the concept of being pursued by like one of the most famous guys like in the country. Like, oh my gosh.
Right.
As I was watching this, I was like, this is kind of like The Crown, but like for Americans.
yeah.
It was almost like,
Oh my gosh, you're so not wrong.
yeah. So it was, and I love The Crown, as you guys know. So
Yeah.
it was really fun to watch. But I think there's a lot there of like teens desiring that, men and women desiring being pursued in relationship in different ways. And so I think that, yeah, there's a lot to be said there. But
What would you say is a way into a conversation that a parent could have with their teen about relationships and the desire to be pursued?
it's a great question. And I'm trying to think of what
if one of your teen girls was in one of these relationships, and what kind of advice would you give her, you think? Or what would you ask? My daughter is dating and in college, and I feel like this is a conversation that I also frequently want to have. So I'm actually kind of baiting you because I would love to know how to have this conversation with her.
Yeah, totally. I think a question that I would love, like if I'm taking myself back to being a teenage girl, especially if you're a teenage girl that loves like rom-coms and stuff, is maybe like, what's a depiction of pursuit or romance that like you really didn't like and one that you did like when it comes to movies?
Yeah.
Because you can watch, like for me, When Harry Met Sally, I'm like, I know that's a classic, but I'm like, Oh, I did not like that for various reasons. Like at the end, he's like, "Of course I love you," and I'm like, "Wait, what? Like what was happening that whole time?" Versus watching this, I actually really liked it. And JFK Jr. is like kind of shy, and he like was trying to figure out how to pursue her, and like honor her like boundaries that she had set with him. Of like he asked for her number, and she was like, "You can call reception. Like you can come to my work. Like if you really want to talk to me." And so I really liked that like she made it so that she wasn't just like super accessible, that he had to kind of work for that. So I think a question around like, and even if it feels maybe hard to ask, like, and what's a depiction you do like, you could get a lot out of just like, what's a story, like a love story in culture, whether that's a TV show or a movie that depicted romance in a way that like you did not like. Because I think there's a lot there.
That's great. I love that. That's awesome.
This podcast is made possible because of our generous donor community, which is called The Table. Tables represent many wonderful things in our world. They stop gravity from pulling our food and drinks clattering down into the floor. Aslan died on a table for the sins of Narnia. Tables provide a place to break bread and converse with the ones we love. And now, The Table is helping us support more parents and caring adults through culture translation. If you'd like to learn more about that, click the link in the show notes. We want you to know that week in, week out, our goal is to be there for you, helping to research culture, helping to create conversation starters, having intentional conversations. So if this is helpful for you, we'd love to invite you to be a part of what we're doing, to subscribe, share with someone who could benefit, and let us know what you think.
Next up, Meaningmaxxing. Teens are adding the suffix maxing to anything and everything. The concept looksmaxxing, or maximizing one's looks, was born out of the incel, which is involuntary celibate, community in the 2010s. And what started as a niche online community has now spread far beyond it. And the original meaning of maxing has kind of evolved in the process. CJ, can you tell me a little bit more about where maxing began and maybe what kind of ways teens are using it now?
Yeah, maxing is... I tend to be someone who... I try to be really positive about teen culture.
Yeah.
But I have a couple hot takes, and maxing, I really hate maxing as a suffix.
Ooh, I love your hot takes. Give us all of them.
It just bothers me because you just throw whatever word
Coffee
and then you
maxing?
throw maxing
I
at the
don't
end of
get
it.
it.
Like, and it like, but there's nothing to get.
That's
it's
exactly.
just you're just doing something. You have a hobby, you like something, but it's like it feels like, I don't know. It feels like the internet.
Like right now,
term.
are we podcast maxing?
Yeah, I mean, you could say that.
Okay.
I feel like, you could add it on to anything.
It just, for some reason, the suffix just bothers me for whatever reason. I think it's maybe the language part of my brain is like, ew. Like, but
you just feel disgust at a core level.
Yeah, I feel like I've been paying attention to a lot of this stuff for kind of a hot second, and it's interesting that it feels like it's like been popular, and then recently it's been just really popular.
Yeah,
like it's just becoming more and more.
Do you feel like it's just like lazy language?
Maybe that's a good way to put it. Yeah, it feels like lazy language to me. But I think it is important. Like we've been working on a resource that will come out relatively soon that's about looksmaxing specifically. Yes. And some of the really negative dynamics of this culture that it's born out of. Mm-hmm. But it's one of those things where the internet loves to take things and kind of strip away some of the context and meaning of it and then just use it as this general thing. And I think maxing is a really good example of that. We can go down this rabbit hole if you would like, Irene. I think it is important before we dive into the rabbit hole, we do the Alice in Wonderland thing. It's important to realize that if your teen uses these terms, they're often not engaging with this context or meaning this context. I feel like we've talked about this with other words before, where just because they use a term doesn't mean that they're like implying all the baggage that often comes with this term. But there's a influencer named Adam Alekshik who does basically like etymology about internet terms, and he's he has a great presence on the internet. But he wrote a book called Algo Speak that talks a little bit about the communities that this type of language has come out of.
Right.
And I quote him in this video that we've been producing. I'm just going to read the quote here. And I think it's just important to realize, because even looks-maxing, the term, is based on this idea of how do I get so attractive that a girl can't say no to me anymore, like as a dude. Like, how do I get to the point where like I take away the autonomy almost of a woman, in terms of that initial interaction where I'm trying to see if she's interested in me, you know? Because there's something about that for a young man that's really, it's scary that a woman can say, well, no, just off the rip of like, I'm talking to this girl at a party and she just immediately rejects me. Jen and I were talking about this a little bit because there's an influencer who's been very popular recently, named Clavicular, who is kind of a looks-maxing influencer. And he did an interview with a very popular kind of YouTube interviewer. His name's Andrew Callahan. And the interview ends because Clavicular kind of looks at Andrew Callahan and he's like, so there's nothing about your appearance that like when you look in the mirror, there's like you're bothered by. And he's like, no, I feel pretty good about it. And the interview's like insane because Jen and I were talking about this. You can see in Clavicular's face, he's like, it just like destroys him. His whole life has been built on how do I like fix all of the things I'm insecure about, which is, just to be clear, is stuff that I think women have struggled with for a very long time and men, but like, it's definitely like, it's not like anything new.
I think men maybe, or I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but boys and young men have kind of been insulated from that.
Yes, I think that's a good way to put it.
More than girls, but now with this kind of looks-maxing culture coming up, I feel like they are starting to feel the pressure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where it feels weird where it's like, it's not great that guys haven't dealt with the same things that girls have dealt with. But the solution isn't, well, let's make everybody
deal with it.
Like,
right.
Totally.
But so looks-maxing comes out of this kind of culture of, okay, I am not successful romantically as a man. How do I make myself become successful romantically? But not in a way of like, how do I become like a better partner? It's more like, how do I become so attractive that people can't say no to me anymore? And so this is from Adam Alekshik again. He says, the reductive nature of incel language further casts every interaction within their sociological framework, meaning the way that they engage in society. Any dynamic between two men is written off as hierarchical, basically proving that I am better than the man next to me. I am more worthy of love and attention from women than the dude next to me. And any interaction, so any dynamic between two men is written off as hierarchical, and any interaction between men and women is thought of as inherently sexual. And so when we talk about maxing, and specifically looks-maxing, it comes out of this place. And I think it's really important for parents to know that this is a trend and a topic that I think a lot of young men are aware of, that they often are not. When I've talked to parents and talked to their young men, their teen boys, the teen boys always know what it is, and the parents never know what it is. And this is a worldview, a perspective that young men are aware of. Now, I talked to a high schooler who's was in one of my community groups at my church, and I asked him about this, and he was like, "Oh, it's a meme." He was like, "We all kind of make fun of it." Now, that might be true for your student, but that might not be true for another student, or so it might be true for my young man I know, but it might not be true for another young man who really feels insecure about the way he looks, and wants to figure that out. But I think when they dive into those communities, they're also handed this perspective that when you talk to a girl, you have to, like, there has to be that sexual dynamic, because what's the point of a relationship with a young woman if it's not that, which I think is a perspective we see a lot outside of this. But I think it's a perspective as Christians we should, like, as Christians even more so, we should push back against, that there's like beautiful camaraderie between men and women in the church as brothers and sisters in Christ, all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily related to saying that I'm, coffee maxing.
Right.
But that's the context where these terms have come from. Now, most people, when they throw the maxing suffix on there, they're not thinking of that at all. But it does speak to this kind of perspective that if you're going to do something, you should go all in, and kind of like it should consume your life, which sometimes, I mean, there's only like a handful of things that I think are worthy of really taking your full attention or like consuming your life in that way. And I would say like probably the Lord. I mean, not to Jesus juke, but like that is important. Like,
Jesus
as Christians,
maxing.
that is See, doesn't that make you actually angry? That makes me mad when you say that. I'm like, that's just being a Christian.
Right. Yeah.
Disciple maxing.
Yeah.
Oh no. Yeah. It
Sorry.
literally, you're right. It has a physical
There's
response.
something about it that just makes me angry, which is
Okay.
great. I'm like, there, as someone who cares about culture, I feel like there should be things that make me angry. I'm like, I love it.
100%.
It's working.
Yes.
I want teen boys to rage bait me by saying maxing all the time. I'm like, it's great.
Oh, I love that there's a hot button for you though now. I will jump in on that, CJ.
No, that's so funny. I feel like for me, because it's the double X, it makes me think of like triple X, which is like explicit content. So I just have a negative
yeah.
association with that. And so when I see it like written out, I'm like, ugh. But when I
Yeah.
say it, I think it's funny.
Well, I'll throw this one at you, Ashley, with this like suffix of maxing everything. I feel like adults hear the message of like productivity and wellness, and we have to optimize everything, whether it's like work and hobbies and even rest. Do you think that is kind of leaking over to young people, and that might have something to do with this as well? On the more serious end, not just the meme version, like it's like everything optimized.
I mean, I can't speak to if it is currently. I think that that would be, I don't know, I'm positive and negative. Gosh, because I feel like as adults and moms and like just, I feel like I have to almost overdo everything,
Mhm.
and like I'm at a place now where I'm like trying to find necessary endings and things so that I can find more rest. And so when I think about like the maxing piece of it, I'm like, yes, there are certain things that I want to be maxing on, like, my health and my all of that. But like, then there's other pieces where I'm like, I don't want to be maxing on this. And so I feel like if that is a trend that's like, that would come over into our younger ones, gosh, I hope it's just on the pieces that are more healthy and not, pushing anyone over the edge.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah, that idea of just like endless productivity is always, it just bothers me.
Yeah.
I mean, Jenna, you're about to do stuff that's not productive, right? In terms of like,
Yeah.
you are not doing anything.
Yeah.
Right.
I've been doing a thing been doing a little cohort, and Brett McCracken, who writes for the Gospel Coalition, was talking about it. And this is a big thing that he does. And like, so it's just in my brain right now of just like, God designed us so that a third of our time is inactive. And like, it's often some of the most important spaces for us to like, I'm going to be sleep maxing.
Sleep maxing.
Where it's just like, what is
The
our
way you say it with your
Slumber
face.
maxing.
what is your perspective on rest? Is rest worthy of itself, or is rest only just to do something else? And I think that's I think that's an interesting question to ask. Obviously, it's a little bit bigger than this topic, but or maybe a little bit different than this topic than just random trends.
I think too, a lot of the productivity piece, that's what we place it under productivity, but it's really control.
Yeah.
Like what you're saying, CJ, is these men want to protect themselves from being vulnerable by being rejected. And so they are controlling what is in their sphere of control is what they look like at some extent.
Yeah.
There used to be this sense of like, this is just your genetics, like you're just short. And now it's like, you can actually get a limb lengthening surgery for $100,000 and get 4 inches added to your legs. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But there's a sense of they're doing it for control. And when it comes to rest, we think that we are the center of our own universes. And it's like, no, that's why Sabbath is so important and engaging in those different practices. I love what you said, CJ, about us being literally not conscious for like a third of our life. Like it's crazy, but the Lord made us that way for a reason. If productivity was God's highest value, we would just not sleep. Like he didn't have to make us do that.
Yeah.
Well, and I think kind of what you were saying, Jenna, it might have been a quote that you actually retweeted. I can't think of the quote, but like kind of this idea of like, or resubstacked or whatever term you want to use. But it was like that Sabbath by definition is like, so it's just countercultural in terms of that, where
100%.
part of the Sabbath is the reminder that the Lord did the work already.
Yeah,
exactly.
And that we can do work and we can do meaningful things. And I think teenage boys can, and I think teenage girls can, and we can teach them that. But I think it's also important to realize that the work has been done. Like the most important work has been done and is being done.
Yeah.
And we get to be a part of that, and we can work towards those ends. But at the end of the day, it is the Lord's. And it's one of those complications of ministry. Like I've been in lots of spaces where people see, well, I'm working for the Lord, so I'm just going to like do it for 20 hours a day and I'm going to constantly be on. And, it's one of those perspectives where it's like, I can't say that it's bad that you're doing the Lord's work, but I also can say that it's maybe not good for you.
Right. Yeah. Right.
To spend all that time instead of resting or, maybe resting with your family and giving them intentional time. Cause I think that's the other great thing about Sabbath is it pulls you away and pulls you towards people.
Yeah.
It pulls you away from maybe work and towards people that you live with and you spend time with and you're doing life with. So
I was thinking of when Jenna's talking about her rest and going on this retreat, like Romans 12:2 says, instead of being conformed to the pattern of this world, we're called to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. And like being conformed is being pressed into like this mold from the outside. And maybe teens are like algorithm driven, but being transformed is like God changing us from the inside, and that I feel like is kind of the opposite of maxing.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah. Well, CJ, how would you go into this conversation? How would you suggest a parent goes into this conversation with their teen?
I mean, we had some maybe deeper conversations than like I would necessarily ask a question about. I don't think I would. Here's the way I put it. I wouldn't necessarily try to start with a very deep question. I think you could ask a question like, what do you think of the suffing like the maxing suffix? Sorry. The suffing maxis.
The suffing maxis? I like it.
You're listening.
Try that with your teen.
The max, like, what do you think of the term maxing? And I think you could, if you wanted to try and direct the conversation towards conversations about productivity, you can.
Yeah.
But if they just are like, I don't know, I think it's dumb, then talk about that. Because
let them lead.
Yeah. Don't try to conversation max this,
Yeah.
So true.
For someone who hates it, CJ, you for sure say maxing a whole lot.
You use it
to
quite
a
well
lot of words.
Yeah, I know how to use it.
Just because I use it doesn't mean I like it.
I think being a hater means you have to know about the thing.
That's true. You can't hate it if you don't know about it.
Like that's I would never be an ill-informed hater.
Never be an ill-informed hater.
I would ask what do you think of maxing as a term? That would be my conversation starter.
CJ?
Yeah, as a suffix.
Awesome. Last up in the 3 conversations this week, we're going to talk about Easter and the viral Easter hauls and Easter aesthetic TikToks that kind of focus on like oversized baskets and trinkets and skincare and matching outfits. And none of it seems to have evidence of the death and resurrection of Jesus. Ashley, you have a couple of little kids. Do you feel any kind of pressure to make Easter this picture perfect Instagram ready event? Or how are you kind of going about?
Yeah, it's funny. I literally 2 days ago was like, man, I've got to order some Easter baskets. So, I hopped on Amazon and ordered the Easter baskets. And I'm like scrolling through just trying to find like a simple basket. And it's like, $25 per Easter basket. And I'm like, this is crazy. I'm not spending this on a basket to put, like 3 things in. But I feel like when I was a very new parent, I 100% felt the pressure to make Easter like so picture perfect. I'm like, I want to put my infant next to this giant Easter basket and take their picture and post it on my Instagram. And why? I don't know. Yeah.
They'll think back to that fondly when they're 21.
Yeah. And like, I'm pretty sure I did. I don't even know where those pictures are now. And so it's
the giant creepy bunnies with the big eyes.
Yeah. No, my kids do not like that Easter bunny. Not a fan. But I was watching some of these videos and like, these people who are doing their giant Easter hauls they're like teens or older teens. And these baskets are crazy.
Dior and all
like
this stuff.
Lulu and all of this stuff and like skincare and all the, fancy clothes and fancy purses. And I was in my mind, I'm like calculating how much that costs.
yeah.
And I'm like, that is crazy for like an Easter basket. In my own motherhood, I've kind of gotten back to the point of like, it is very simple. Like we still will do an Easter hunt. 'Cause I don't want my kids to, feel left out or like they can't engage with that and stuff. And, it's fun. Like go find some eggs with some candy in it all day. Actually, that's been our activity at home lately is when I can't find something for my kids to do. I'm like, here, take all of these Easter eggs from last year, stuff them with things, and hide them for your brother to go find. And they just do that back and forth, and it entertains them for hours. It's great. But we've definitely taken it back to more simple, and are definitely like trying to focus more on the reason. From this last week again, my kids are younger, 4 and 6, and so we're still, I'm still trying to find the words to explain to them in a way that they understand of like the true meaning of where we're at right now, like this season. And so, now my 4-year-old's like fixated on death. And I'm like, okay, all right. We're starting to understand it. But then he looked at me the other day and he was like, Mom, I'm going to miss you when you die. And I was like, okay, hold on. Let's revisit this.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to just kind of, again, 4 and 6, hard to paint that picture for them. And so in this season, it's helpful that we have, other people discipling them in a way that's helping them understand. And then when we're doing the Easter baskets, it's like, yes, this is a celebration. Like we are celebrating on Sunday, and this is the reason why. So, yes, we're going to do the gifts, but like the gifts are, something simple and it's like Christ focused. And, but then, there's the fun activities that you get when you're at a party and you're celebrating. And so it's just like trying to bring it back full circle. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's maybe not the newest thought, but I just, as you're talking, I'm wondering like for a teen where it kind of begins early, right? When they're 6 or 4 or whatever. Like, how do we separate celebration from consumerism?
Yeah.
Because I think in our culture, the two things are so heavily tied. And I think if we're being honest, I think Christmas is a core driver of that.
100%.
Right.
That, we are celebrating the birth of Jesus, but we're also getting a bunch of things,
Right.
which is like, I deeply love, and I'm not like trying to rail against it or rant against it. But I also am wondering, like, how do we help our young people understand that those two things don't have to go together all the time? Like,
Right.
at some point, if you celebrate, there probably will be some sort of maybe gift or meal. And those aren't necessarily like consumerism and the thing way I'm thinking of, but like, how do we like I doubt your kids, Ashley, when they're 14, will be expecting Lulu in an Easter basket. Like, that's a different level. But I do think it's important to realize that sometimes that is a message that young people are hearing, that when we celebrate something, then I get a $200 outfit.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is. So
I think we're like, when we start our kids out at that age with these kind of expectations, we're kind of creating their theology around Easter to expect, it to be about presents. And then it kind of makes the reason for the season the background noise.
Yeah.
And so I reversing that, even as a parent of teenagers who are expecting, Dior hauls for Easter, how do we go about recentering this celebration?
It's interesting. I even when I was in high school, I would get an Easter basket and I would forget every year that my mom would do that. I would be like, "Oh, right. Here's a chocolate Easter bunny."
Yeah.
And I don't know how she did that. That was my perspective. And I was thinking, I was just thinking about it now. I'm like, maybe it's just because, like, I think there's a blessing in growing up in a family that like really prioritizes church and faith. So Easter was never that.
Yeah.
Like Christmas, I always understood Christmas was about Jesus, right?
Yeah.
But Christmas was like, when I was 7, I was very excited about Christmas morning.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
But when I was 7, I was never like, oh, my Easter basket. Like I have really fond memories of doing like egg hunts at like my grandparents' house or whatever. But for me, it was always like the core of Easter was always church and resurrection and that sort of thing. So I don't know if that's an answer, but it's like, I was just thinking like, I mean, that is part of it, is like really like, I think it's a year-round thing of talking about faith and making faith a part of your life.
That's it.
Because if it's suddenly like, and as someone who has worked at a church for a long time, we really value the people who go to church twice a year, which is just Easter and Christmas, you know, right? Yeah. We value those people, but there are a lot of people who do that. And so I think if that's the way you go about your faith walk, I think your kids will probably see Easter more as a consumerist holiday as opposed to a faith holiday, because that's the only time they go to church. It's the only time they engage with it, you know?
Right.
Again, I'm not trying to be judgmental of people who that's the only time they get to walk into a church or can convince their family to go to church with them.
Yeah.
But I do think it is part of, and I think we've been seeing this trend more in recent years of people desiring to structure their life around the church calendar as opposed to just the maybe American holiday calendar.
Like Advent and Passover.
Yeah, like Advent and Lent and Passover and the Holy Week. Like you asked us, how's your Holy Week been? And that's definitely a thing about where we're choosing to look at the calendar through a Christian lens as opposed to maybe just a secular lens.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Jenna, you said to me that you kind of grew up without getting Easter baskets and celebrating in that way. Do you feel like that helped you kind of centralize your perspective on Easter for the reason for the season?
Totally. I had friends that would get really cool Easter baskets, and I was always jealous because my family just never did that. And I think a lot of that was my parents were very intentional about how we celebrated holidays because they were first generation Christians. So they were like, we don't want to look like the world. Like, we want to focus on church, faith, family. And we dyed eggs, and we would do little egg hunts at my grandparents' house, and it was so fun, and I loved that. And honestly, for me, I just really love candy. So the big loss for me was just that I didn't get Easter candy.
Yeah.
There's no chocolate bunny.
But I usually got it in my eggs. So I was like, you know what? It's fine. Whatever. But my mother-in-law now always sends me and my husband a little Easter present, and it's so sweet, and I really appreciate it. And it always makes me think, like, Parker and I will talk about, because we don't have kids, like, well, we do, because Parker grew up with a mom who made him an Easter basket every year, and I didn't. And I love, like, traditions and holidays and things like that. But I think, like, embodied traditions, like an Easter egg hunt, like things that you can do together are going to be, like, increasingly more important. And so, yeah, I think Easter baskets are great, super fun. It depends. I think like it can be a way to show your kid you really know them. Like for one kid, you can put, they love arts and crafts. You're going to buy them a nice set of pens or a little sketchbook. For your other kid who wants this game for a Switch, you can put it in there, like a little thing. So I think when that's our heart behind it, we can't really go wrong. But yeah, I don't feel like, I'm trying to think of the right word. I'm not like upset that I didn't get an Easter basket, but watching these hauls, I genuinely was like, the concept of getting clothes for Easter, like, is so, and this is just my little judgmental heart, is very baffling to me. I'm like, you're getting clothes? I'm like, I get like a little trinket or a little something, like, just watching it, I was like, oh my gosh, wow. But I think, like CJ was saying, with Christmas, I think Christians have had more time. Like, American Christians are wrestling with, like, okay, what is consumerism related to this holiday? But I think like it's hard to make the argument that for Easter we shouldn't do that, because we've kind of already decided, like, as faithful Christians, I am going to buy my kids clothes for Christmas, and we've found ways to be okay with that. And I love getting clothes for Christmas. I don't want to stop doing that, but it's just
you're like, hear me, mom.
An interesting conversation to have of like, so what about this is different? So there's a lot there, and every family is going to do it differently. But yeah, I think you don't need to drop more than double digits on your Easter basket. Maybe it's a good rule of thumb.
Right. Like
it's single digits.
We're not trying to like shame. I buy my kids Easter basket. There's no shame in doing it. I don't like, if you're celebrating 100%. Jesus and the resurrection, you can't really get Easter wrong. But I think like what you were saying, CJ, is it's about having those conversations more than just on that weekend or that day.
Exactly. And I think it's the conversations behind it more than, like, maybe you want to get your kid a bougie Easter basket, but then, like, what will the conversations about that look like?
Yeah. Well, and I was watching some of the, like, influencer videos. There was one in particular, and I think that we linked it in the CT, but she, pulls out her Easter basket, and it's huge. Like, it is huge. And, like, I can't say her exact words because I don't recall her exact words, but she basically says, this is not about me bragging. I know that, Jesus is the reason for the season, but let me show you my Easter haul. And she's like, I think she says, because y'all don't want to hear all about that.
Yeah.
And then she sets it down.
She pulls out like all her stuff and she's like, Jesus is the reason.
Yeah.
And then she's like, but no one's talking about that.
But no one's talking about
Yeah.
that. And then she just like continues to go through it. And I was like,
Wild.
okay, so
Yeah.
this is what
Mhm.
our, the younger kids or those that are scrolling through their TikToks, like, that's what they're seeing. And so that's a whole different,
Yeah.
Layer to the Easter baskets. Like if that's what these influencers are pushing out, like we know it's the reason, but like we don't really care about that right now. We just care about the things that are in this basket.
Yeah.
Then that poses a lot of new conversations to have with your children.
Yeah, I mean, part of me just wonders if it's the tyranny of the trend of you just have to have something to post
for
about
everything. Yeah.
And I was even just thinking a little bit about like what now. I was thinking about back to school, like how much parents spend on back to school like outfits, right?
Mhm.
And I'm thinking about like it's prom season right now and the cost of prom kind of dresses or suits. It's insane. And so I'm just like, what area of like what time of the year is sacred from having to buy new things?
CJ,
because
that
it feels
is
like it should be right
so
now.
real.
Yeah.
But then suddenly it's like, and just to be clear, Jenna said an outfit for Easter, but that is a very real thing for buying an outfit to go to Easter at church.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
yeah,
Obviously, Jenna's talking about a different thing where like you're not going to wear your Lulu, athleisure to
a workout set.
Yeah,
is what
yeah,
I was thinking
yeah.
of it.
But like absolutely, you guys have probably bought outfits for your kids for Easter at some point. And it's like
probably.
hopefully not that expensive because for a 6-year-old.
I have too many kids. I can't
for a
afford
six-
expensive.
Don't you have something in your closet? We can make it work. But like, it feels like, I mean, that's part of it, right? Like,
Yeah.
they are saying it themselves at some
Mhm.
point where it's like, we actually don't care about Jesus. And
Mhm.
I just want to be really clear. Like, if they're not believers, like part of our job is to hopefully make Jesus something like we want to help them care about Jesus.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's
right.
part of our reason to be here on earth.
Yeah.
But they realize the trend is around this day that it's something I don't care about, which is
Yeah.
the resurrection of Jesus.
Yeah.
This is the influencer
That's
saying
heavy.
that, not me, just to be clear.
Yeah.
But
Right.
Yes.
like,
we got you.
but so they're just looking for a reason to have a trend so they can post on social media and get, money from advertisers or whatever it is, which is, it's a little bit of a cynical take, but it feels pretty accurate where it's just people try to spin up new trends all of the time. And so how does, Dr. Pepper get more brand recognition? Well, I don't know, spin up a trend,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's worth saying that I think if you ask, I would hazard a guess that if you ask a young person about this, they would probably be like, well, I don't like, no, I care about Easter more than, just the weird Easter basket trends.
Yeah.
But people on social media have loud voices.
Yes.
And
they do.
so they're holding a big Easter basket and they're like, well, I don't really, you guys don't want to hear about Jesus. You just want to hear about, and it's true because
Influencers influence.
yeah, that's
right.
what they're doing. So, but like your average high schooler probably isn't thinking through that lens.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean, just like the maxing thing, that doesn't mean that the context isn't also affecting them.
Exactly.
So they're not necessarily, that's not the first way they think about it, but they are hearing those messages. And so it's important to just provide a counter to that says, hey, part of why we're celebrating this is because Jesus gave up everything, which is kind of the anti-consumer, a little bit of like giving of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what we celebrate at Good Friday, but then also what we celebrate at Easter, which is the gift that we have been given. That isn't something we can earn or, so
Yeah.
could do a Jesus juke and like go into talking about the gospel, but it's definitely a part of it. And I think it's important to provide that counter to the trend.
Exactly. Ashley, if a parent wants to move kind of beyond the basket, what is a good conversation starter you think that they would use with their teenagers?
I think that you can just kind of start it simple. Like, what do you feel is the most, impactful part of our Easter weekend? And then that can lead you into
traditions.
Yeah, traditions. If it's, kind of a silent Saturday, whatever it is that like you and your family do together, that's the most impactful for them.
Yeah, I love that. Awesome. Well, thanks for tuning into Roundtable this week. On your way out, here's a quick survey of some of the rest of the cultural landscape. First up, if you thought the popularity of K-pop Demon Hunters wouldn't survive into 2026, look no further than your local McDonald's, which has Huntr and Saja Boys themed meals. And I'm going to take a quick variation from our normal programming to pause right here and give me one moment. I'll be right back. I have a surprise for my team.
Thank you for ordering the Huntr meal.
So we tried to get Jenna one of these, but they were out.
In California, way more popular.
You think it's all of California, Jenna?
It must be.
All
No, I
of
think it's just
California.
the two closest to me.
Oh,
It's okay.
okay. Well, you'll have to go on a hunt for your Huntr meal
What-
later today.
So I would like to continue to rant about consumerism. I'm just kidding.
Look at this. I
This
mean,
is
they
ridiculous.
will not give up. They're not letting go of.
I'm loving it.
Thank you for ordering the Huntr meal and the Saja. They couldn't make a different packaging for the two.
Yeah, this is breakfast, right?
Okay, yeah.
Happy fans.
And this
Happy
is-
honeymoon.
Wow.
The regular one. So, if you
Nice.
guys want to
Got
unbox
some- we got
while
some-
I do the rest of the roundup, you're welcome to.
This,
Jordan will just
just to be
mute
clear,
your mics.
I don't think this is as important as going to the moon, but
Hey, you know what? I'll get you some rockets. But speaking of the moon, with the Artemis II mission, NASA is sending astronauts to the moon. They actually sent them yesterday for the first time since the Apollo missions, which was over 50 years ago. Oh man, I'm so interested in the meals. Maybe we should.
that French fry is
I think this is
colder than room temperature.
I don't know what I had to get. Like, I couldn't
Okay.
get the DoorDash guy to come to the.
It's great.
Wait, this is called demon sauce.
Why don't you guys? You
I
know
don't-
what?
I don't like
Let's-
that.
Let's unbox
And
for
it is
the
black.
audience.
The sauce
Well,
is
okay,
black.
just to be clear, not everyone is watching the video.
Well, that's why I'm saying
So
you're
we're
gonna have
all
to
holding Happy
audio
Meals.
unbox for them. Yeah.
Well,
so
kind of not Happy Meals. These are adult meals. Okay, so we
Okay.
get.
all right,
I got
we'll,
a 10-piece
we'll
chicken
hold
nugget
on the
with
roundup
some
and
Korean on it, which
Okay.
I
Make
appreciate.
shaker fries.
are there any fries in
Oh,
it?
there's a no. Oh
We
my
also
gosh.
get a. Hold on, I gotta read things. We get a plastic bag. Well, it's paper actually. It's not plastic.
Mhm.
With I think.
Oh, it's like ramen seasoning.
Oh.
No
For
way
your
for your
fries.
fries.
That's nice. I like
okay.
Ramyeon.
So the gang is unboxing their McDonald's for those who are listening.
It is a different thing, just to be
I'm so
clear.
sorry.
Yeah, I just want to say
Okay.
that out
Okay.
loud. Yeah.
Okay, what else is in your Happy
And
Meals,
we
guys?
got fries.
no,
and fries?
and then
That's
there's a trading card.
Oh,
Trading
sick.
card.
There's
Do
a
you,
card.
do you think I'm gonna get a foil roomie?
You're probably gonna get a Pikachu.
Oh, they're
This is-
ripping open their cards
We're
right
ripping
now.
the packs
Okay, I'm
right-
gonna try
Actually,
and
I'm
give an
gonna keep
audio.
this sealed and
Okay.
sell it 20 years from now.
You
This
know
is-
what? I bet you it would
When
go
K-pop,
for a lot of money.
when K-pop Demon Hunters is the biggest thing in the world. What'd you get? What'd you get? What'd you get? Oh,
Oh,
she got a.
I got a Zoe. She is
that is-
shiny.
it is hollow.
Oh, wow,
She did.
it's a
She did get a. She
holographic.
did get a hollow
I
one.
also got a
A Derpy the Tiger.
Derpy Tiger. And on the back it says VIP. A surprise is coming. This is your exclusive access. And then there's a QR code.
Oh, so it's probably a game.
And someone already
Wow.
scanned it.
And-
If you don't scan it before this goes live, someone will zoom in
Yeah.
on
Oh man,
the camera.
you just
and scan
lost
it.
your Derpy Tiger.
I haven't turned it around yet.
Okay,
The
you haven't shown the
dishonest
QR code?
listener.
Just
I'm
be
not
careful.
showing you my QR code.
Because who knows? That could be really valuable.
Okay,
Yeah.
Well, what else is in this Happy Meal? Some nuggets, right?
some nuggets.
Yeah, I already talked about the nuggets.
And some
Oh,
demon
I
sauce.
missed it.
It has
and the
Korean on
demon
it.
sauce. Demon sauce and Huntr sauce. Don't know what the difference is, but we're gonna find out later.
Well, the demon sauce is black.
Inside.
I think so. I think it's leaking through to the outside and it is black.
Wild. All right, well, I am going to get back to the roundup now that I've distracted everybody with these ice cold Happy Meals. They had to be sitting for an hour as we chatted. But let me go back to the astronauts. The 4 astronauts won't land on Luna. They just journey around it, but it's an exciting moment as the prep, launch, and journey are all live streamed. I got to watch a little bit of yesterday. It was pretty cool.
I did watch launch yesterday. It was
yeah.
very cool.
Yeah.
Although the moment of production when it launched was a little rough, which was very funny.
Yeah.
Like they just didn't crane the camera up to watch.
It normally happens like that.
It was, yeah.
We also heard that the toilets weren't working
Yeah,
on
they
the
got it
ship
fixed.
for a
though.
bit.
They fixed it.
They're fixed now. Solid. The astronauts have toilets, guys.
Oh my gosh, another reason to not go to space.
I think it is a singular toilet, just to be clear.
A
yeah.
singular
Yeah,
toilet.
that's it.
That makes
Now
sense.
we gotta share.
Oh,
Just
man.
one toilet?
Yeah, just one toilet.
They apparently they didn't have toilets before.
Yeah.
That's what CJ told me.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah.
This is
They didn't have to, right, CJ?
I might have to fact check that. But that was sometimes I see things on the internet and I say them like they're true.
Say them out loud like they mean something.
He just influenced you.
Don't count me on that. Fact check for yourself if the astronauts had toilets prior to 2026. Third, AI fruit-themed take on reality shows like Love Island has surged in popularity the last few weeks, with videos getting tens of millions of views on TikTok. Guys, this is the epitome of AI slop.
This is Irene's favorite thing.
Oh my gosh. No, please make sure that
Irene,
you make it know that that is a
Irene
sarcastic comment.
really, really loves
I refuse to
AI.
write about it. I was like, this is the epitome of garbage.
Fruit Love Island.
Not watching this. Man, are we going to get through this list?
It feels like people on the internet have been saying this, and I think it's worth saying. This feels like the newest like Italian brain rot. Like that's
my
what
gosh.
like people are comparing it to.
It is so bad.
So
It is so bad.
Which April 1st, this isn't in the cultural roundup, but I'm going to put it in right now.
Do
Fortnite added like Italian brain rot characters on April 1st.
Oh my gosh.
So you can play as Tung 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 Shahur if you want. So, yeah.
Man, it's getting rougher and rougher in these streets.
Listen, he is risen.
He is risen. Amen, brother.
He is risen.
Fourth, teens are mall maxing as young people are driving an in-person shopping comeback, which includes malls. The mall rats are back. We love it. I'm here for it.
Shout out to the Citadel Mall in Colorado Springs,
Oh,
everyone's
man.
favorite spot.
That place is wild.
Bro, you got to go
If
Chapel
you're in the
Hills.
Springs, don't go there.
Chapel Hills
Oh,
is
wait.
also
No,
not
it's,
nice.
It's coming back to life, okay?
Maybe, yeah.
When they
maybe they'll
turned
give
half
it
of the
some more
mall
life.
into apartment buildings, that was like,
There's an aquarium in there now.
ooh.
Stingrays,
We
you
love
can
it.
feed a stingray in the mall these days. They're bringing the,
Sorry,
the
this
sharks
is-
and the
They're coming
people
in.
back.
Very specific to our listeners who live in Colorado
Sorry.
Springs. I
Come
was
visit,
making a
come
dumb
visit
joke.
us and the Axis team, and we'll take you to the mall to visit some stingrays.
And
Irene will.
Happy
I'm
to
good.
do so.
I'm fine with leaving the malls behind. It's my hot take, but
Finally, YouTube is rolling out a survey asking users if what they watched felt like AI slop. It could be a way for YouTube to enforce its own AI policy, or as some may have hypothesized, it could be a way for Google to train its own AI video models for free. Curious which one it's about, but I could definitely do with less AI slop in my life. We'll have links in the show notes if you want to explore these further. For now, goodbye from all of us, and we will see you next week.
thanks so much for watching. This podcast is made possible because of our generous donor community, The Table. To help us support more parents and other caring adults through culture translation, we love to invite you to check out The Table by clicking right here. Also, if you've been impacted by what we do, would you consider letting us know with a like, comment, and/or a subscription, as well as sharing this episode with someone who you think it could benefit? Thanks for caring about having intentional conversations with the next generation.